GTA is one of those games that not only everyone knows, but pretty much everyone loves as well. The franchise has single-handedly pioneered the crime game open world genre and held it up on its own shoulders. The cops and robbers style gameplay, expansive and detailed maps, and iconic humor are just some of the few things that not only solidified its spot, but are the most copied. And as the saying goes, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. And my god, is GTA one of the most imitated games ever created. But there was a time when pretty much every open world game at the time was trying to be Grand Theft Auto some way or another. The early 2000s and 2010s had an overabundance of these clones, and by the time the end of the 2010s rolled around, every major developer had its own clone. Unfortunately, nowadays, the genre has kinda halted and slowed down a lot, and there's not as many coming out anymore. Maybe it's due to GTA 6 being right around the corner, or maybe it's just not as profitable anymore. I don't really know, but what I do know is that there's already a boatload of clones out right now. So that's what we're going to turn our attention to today. Today I want to talk about 3 of the best games of that golden era. These games were instantly marked as GTA clones, but nonetheless have carved out their own identity and fan base around the GTA gameplay loop. So without further ado, these are the best GTA clones ever. When people bring up GTA clones, this is probably the first game that comes to mind for most people. This game is part of one of the defining members of the GTA clone genre, and for good reason. Now, I did make a video talking about the second game a while ago, but today I want to look at where it all started. Before it went on full mayhem with dubstep and guns and alien invasions and all that extra stuff, I want to go back to the very first game where Saints Row was actually grounded. The first Saints Row came out back in 2006. It drops right in the middle of the Xbox 360's rise, and to be honest, if we're being completely honest, it looked just like any other GTA wannabe. You steal cars, you fight the police, you climb gang ladders and all that stuff, but when you actually play it, that's when you realize that this game has its own identity. But moving on, you start as a faceless character, caught in a shootout in Stillwater, which is the fictional version of Detroit and Chicago. Julius Little, leader of the 3rd Street Saints, saves you and brings you into the gang. From there, it's the whole citywide turf war against rival gangs and everything like Vice Kings, Los Carnals, and the West Side Rollers. And that's what Saints Row got right, the structure. Every gang had its own storyline and its own missions and everything. It had its own style. The player actually had influence on the gangs, and it tied them to the story. You weren't taking down the city all at once, you were dismantling it piece by piece. And to be honest, at the time, the gangs were a pretty huge deal for the mechanics of the game and set it apart from GTA, among other things. One of those other things that set it apart from GTA was the respect system. You couldn't just spam story missions the whole way. You actually had to earn your way up and earn points within the gangs to kind of unlock the story missions as you move along. It actually made it feel like you had a stake in the gangs and you actually had influence on them. But the world that we're in, Stillwater, it might not be the most detailed map ever made, but man, I mean, it had character. Every district had its own personality. The game certainly wasn't breaking any records with the map size or NPC density or anything, but that's not where the game's strength lie. All the glory is in the gameplay and the story. That's where this game shines. And while the first Saints Row was still serious, you could really feel the edges of Volition's insanity still creeping in. The things like the zany ass side missions and offbeat humor were still key in setting it apart from the competition. It was the player's fantasy of building an empire from scratch, taking over a city not for no reason, but because you wanted to feel like a king. It took the gang aspect of the GTA formula and ran with it, making it the core concept and mechanic in the game, which up until recently worked very well for the franchise and made for a very fun game. Okay, this game is basically GTA but as a cop. Before Sleeping Dogs ever existed, the True Crime series was all about putting you in the shoes of cops and taking down gangs in the name of justice. This is also another game that, before Saints Row, helped shape the GTA clone genre, and another game that for sure comes to people's minds when talking about GTA clones. This game was released in the glorious year of 2003. This was Activision's shot at the GTA market, but with a twist. Instead of being the bad guy, you are the law. Kind of. You play as a guy named Nick Kang. He is a suspended LAPD detective brought back into service because he's the only one crazy enough to clean up the streets of LA. Clean up is honestly an understatement. Nick doesn't follow the rules, he breaks them harder than the criminals he's chasing. I mean, this dude is definitely the type of guy who'll like roundhouse kick an innocent person through a shop window, dust himself off and say all in a day's work. I mean, this game pretty much is the show The Shield in game form. But what makes true crime so memorable isn't the story, it's how it lets you play it. You had the freedom to be either good or bad, take out criminals with precision arrest, or cause enough collateral damage to be labeled as a rogue cop. The game tracks all that and changes missions and even alters the ending based on your behavior. This game introduced the morality system long before the respect system in Saints Row. Like I mentioned earlier, it's a system that judges the player's playstyle into categories, good cop or bad cop, and it influences the endings that we could get. And to be honest, what's funny is that currently there are games that still can't figure out how to do this and make it fun and fresh, which is honestly why True Crime is on this list. Moving on to the map of True Crime, it was actually kind of insane for the time, to be honest. I mean, it wasn't anything absolutely crazy, but it definitely got the job done, especially on the PS2. It was a condensed but recognizable version of Los Angeles with actual landmarks, highways, and neighborhoods and everything. From Beverly Hills to Hollywood to downtown, the whole works. Crimes also popped up in the world dynamically while you were on patrol or just driving around to keep the game fun post-story or just to give you something to do. You could be heading to a mission and suddenly hear a radio call about a robbery nearby. It makes the whole world feel reactive and unpredictable, like you're an actual cop in LA going on patrol. Aside from the dynamic world and everything, the combat was actually kind of wild for its time. It had mixed martial arts, third-person shooting, and driving chases. All of it leaned heavily into the 90s road cop action movies and subtle racism of the time. It honestly feels like an action movie set piece of that time. All that aside, it may not have been perfect, but it definitely paved the way for what came next. It was the first game to make the cop fantasy fun, for sure rough around the edges, especially now with a damn near broken PC port, but it gave us an open world that was certainly reactive and a story that players still remember to this day. And it taught developers that GTA's formula wasn't sacred like the Krabby Patty formula. It could be twisted, flipped, and rebuilt from the ground up, making something new and fresh. Without True Crime, we probably wouldn't have Sleeping Dogs. And that's reason enough to call it one of the best GTA clones ever made in my book. Next up, we have GTA Hong Kong Edition. This is the truest form of a GTA clone if True Crime wasn't already the definitive clone. True Crime was the rough sketch, and Sleeping Dogs is the polished masterpiece. What's funny is this game actually was supposed to be originally conceived as True Crime Hong Kong. It was cancelled mid-development and resurrected by Square Enix with a new name and a new coat of polish, but it still had the same heartbeat and chaos of its spiritual predecessor. We take on the role of Wei Shen, an undercover cop infiltrating Hong Kong's Sun On Yi triad. Wei isn't just some random cop or anything, he actually grew up in these streets. He knows the culture, the neighborhoods, the people, and everything. He's got history here. And that's what makes him the perfect infiltrator. The deeper he goes, the blurrier the lines get. Loyalty, betrayal, and friendship. And that's what makes the story hit so hard. Wei isn't a silent protagonist or a cartoon gangster or anything. He's actually a human being. He gets close to the people he's supposed to destroy, he builds bonds and breaks them and suffers for it. By the end of the game, you're not even sure if he's still a cop or if he ever even was. Hong Kong in Sleeping Dogs is breathtaking. Not massive like GTA cities or anything, but it's very, very dense. Neon lights flicker off the wet pavement, street vendors shout, scooters weave through alleys. It's alive in a way that few games ever even achieve. The world in this game is absolutely packed full with NPCs, shops, and things to do all over the place. And I know, you hear YouTubers say this all the time. Oh, this world is alive when referring, oh, it's so alive. Especially when referring to open worlds. But I shit you not. Not even GTA has this many NPCs in its dense city areas. Everything reacts to you and feels like a real place, not based on one. That's what this game gets done perfectly. But aside from the dynamic and realistic world of Sleeping Dogs is all about combat, kung fu, fists, flips, and improvised brutality. Every single fight is a mix of martial arts mastery and environmental carnage. Slamming heads into fans, breaking arms on car doors, drop kicking gangsters into fish tanks, the whole nine. The whole game is it's crazy. The combat is absolutely wild. It's tight, fast, especially satisfying. It borrows the fluidity of Batman Arkham system, but adds the style of a Hong Kong Bruce Lee action movie. Driving and shooting still exist in the game and everything, but the key focus on the combat is hand-to-hand fighting. That's where this game really shines. The punches feel weightful and impactful. Beating the absolute shit out of people in this game has to be the most satisfying thing in the whole game, hands down. I mean, Sleeping Dogs had what no GTA clone had before, and that is kung fu and gang violence. It wasn't just about the chaos, it was about the cost of it. Every mission hits with emotional weight, every betrayal stings, and the game has a slick cinematic and stylish polish to it. But underneath all the flash is an actual story about loyalty, culture, and sacrifice. It's honestly one of those games that for sure stays with you after the credits roll. I mean, even if you look up the game currently in 2025, you'll see there's people still talking about this game and its impact. It's a great game, and that's exactly why it's on this list. GTA clone used to be a lazy insult, but when you look at games like Saints Row, True Crime LA, and Sleeping Dogs, you very quickly realize that though they may have started out as clones, they've taken the formula and carved out their own path and identity. Each one took the open world crime fantasy and made tweaks and changes so that what we get, like the games that I just talked about, is a familiar but fresh take on the GTA formula. They each captured something that GTA never did. They gave us worlds that weren't afraid to go in the direction that GTA was. Maybe they started off as clones, but they ended up as classics no less. But if you made it this far, thank you for staying this long. Drop your favorite GTA clone in the comments. Maybe it's one of these, maybe it's something wild like Godfather 2 or that one Scarface game. Either way, let me know if you want me to go over any more GTA clones, as there are way more than the ones that I listed today. But I appreciate all the support. Leave a like and feel free to subscribe for more videos like this, as it helps me a lot. But I'll catch you guys in the next one.